The flight had already taken off from Denver, but Damien Cole hadn't yet looked up from his papers. Seat 2A in business class gave him silence, which he preferred, at least until something different cut through it. Not loud, not urgent. A woman's voice, soft, deliberate, singing something that wasn't English. He didn't understand the lyrics, but the way they were sung, the cadence, the tension between every syllable, made him stop turning pages. Damien glanced sideways. Behind the business class divider and coach, someone was singing in Spanish. Not performing, not trying to be heard, just comforting. He turned back to his notes, but the voice lingered like a scent. 2 rows behind the curtain. Mariana Cruz, 25, leaned slightly forward in seat 18F. One arm cradled her sleeping son, the other brushing away damp hair from his temple. The fever had broken an hour ago. Now she hummed the second verse, one only her mother had ever sung aloud. Someone in the row ahead turned. An older woman with silver-streaked curls and an Italian accent choked up. "I haven't heard that lullaby. Not since Rome. My mother used to sing it too." Mariana offered a small nod. No smile, no explanation. She shifted her son's weight and continued humming softer now. 10 minutes later, a flight attendant mispronounced the name of the pasta dish. Her tone was rushed, slightly embarrassed. "Would you like the farfalle?" Mariana, without looking up, corrected her gently. "It's farfalle." Not scolding, just accurate. The man in 2A looked back again, this time longer. He hit the call button. "Is there a reason I can't sit in row 18? The attendant blinked. "Sir, that's coach." "I know. I'd like to change seats." She hesitated. "You're Mr. Cole?" "Yes." Damien closed his laptop, picked up his coat, walked past the curtain, the confusion, the stares. He didn't ask Mariana if the middle seat was taken. He just sat down beside her and said nothing for the next hour. But when she adjusted her child's blanket and whispered something else, this time in French, Damien turned his head slightly, like someone who'd just caught the end of a sentence that mattered. And for the first time in months, he listened. The cabin lights dimmed somewhere over Kansas. Mariana hadn't noticed Damien Cole looking at her, not directly, but she could feel it. Damien turned toward her, not with small talk, but with something else in his hand. A printed research packet. "I'm reviewing a translation for a clinical trial we're opening in Ankara," he said. "English to Turkish. Something feels off. Can I get your opinion?" Mariana flipped through quickly, then slowed down. "This line uses the word ilaklar. That's medication, but the context is treatment. The word should be tadavi. If you submit this as is, it reads like the patient is receiving pills instead of full therapy." Damien blinked. She had caught it within 15 seconds. "You studied Turkish?" "No, I studied language. Turkish is one of 7 I picked up. Life forces you to learn fast when subtitles aren't available." "And you studied where?" "University of Colorado Linguistics. I dropped out my 3rd year." He raised a brow. "Because of my son, Leo. He came earlier than planned, and no one waits for you to catch up." The flight captain announced descent. People adjusted seatbacks. Mariana handed the document back without commentary. Damien zipped the folder, then glanced at her once more. "I have a meeting tomorrow at 10 Biotech partners, half from outside the States. We'll be switching between 4 languages in 90 minutes. I need someone in the room who knows when words mean more than what they sound like." Mariana blinked. "That sounds like a job." "It's not," he said. "It's just a seat at the table. Come if you want, walk away if you don't." The morning air in Philadelphia bit through the sleeves of Mariana's coat as she walked along the edge of Rittenhouse Square. Her phone buzzed. A message from the speech therapy clinic. The session for Leo had been canceled again. She stared at the screen, slipped the phone away. She looked at the tall building with the gold signage that read, "The Bellevue." She crossed the street before she could talk herself out of it. The receptionist checked the list. "You're expected, 17th floor." Mariana stepped into the elevator, glanced at her reflection. No makeup, wrinkled coat, coffee stain on her sleeve. The conference room was quieter than expected. Damien sat at the head. He gestured gently to the chair beside him. No one introduced her. No one asked why she was there. A thick document was slid toward her. German, English, French columns in parallel. She scanned, pen in hand, mind-switching languages as fast as the printer had printed them. In the margin of a French sentence, she underlined the word essay and wrote étude beside it. Damien noticed. He whispered, "Why?" Essay implies something experimental. Étude has more clinical weight. It's about perception. Then came the first real test. A man at the far end of the table cut in. "Apologies, but our interpretation of the regulation doesn't support multinational supervision in Hungary." The room paused. Mariana leaned forward. In January, Hungary updated the act. There's now a clause allowing foreign audit panels in joint biomedical studies, provided they're registered with the National Public Health Center. Page 37, paragraph 3. The man frowned, then leaned toward her with interest rather than challenge. Damien turned to him. "Shall we proceed?" The conversation moved on. Mariana exhaled slowly. Damien didn't thank her. He didn't compliment her. But halfway through the next section, he pushed a bottle of water toward her side of the table without looking, without a word. Somehow it felt like the warmest gesture she'd received all year. Mariana entered a modern boardroom in Geneva. Damien, in a dark suit and tie, composed. Daniel Koenig, head of European strategy, stern with slicked blonde hair, eyed her. "We were told someone from legal would join, but I assume your operations." She didn't answer, choosing a seat by the wall. The meeting began. Charts, regulatory language, 4 languages switching. Then a clause about biomarker clearance. Mariana frowned. That phrasing was replaced in March under the bilateral agreements. Koenig turned. "And you are?" "I'm Mariana Cruz." "And your role?" Before she could respond, the door opened. Damien walked in. "She's the reason we didn't lose Ancora. If you're still waiting for titles, you've already missed the point." Later that evening, Mariana sat on the bed in her Zurich hotel, holding an envelope with Damien's handwriting. Inside, no contracts, just one sentence. "Your review matters more than their approval." She looked at Leo, asleep in cartoon pajamas, a children's book open beside him. For the first time, she let herself smile. Not because she'd won, but because she hadn't lost who she was trying not to be. The next morning, in a small cafe with red chairs, Damien sat waiting with a plate of toast and apricot jam. Mariana arrived, wool sweater and scarf, Leo climbing into a chair beside her. They didn't talk business. They talked about language. About how German words for missing someone mean something once belonged to you. About mothers raising children alone. Damien asked, "What would you do if everything stopped right now?" Mariana said, "I'd still speak." Later, they wandered into a bookstore. Leo picked a postcard. It read, "Some people arrive and make such a beautiful impact, you can barely remember what life was like without them." Damien read it. Then he looked at Mariana. She didn't look away. That night, she knocked on his door. "I don't need promises." "I don't offer them," he replied. "But if I'm building something new, I don't want to build it alone." The next week, the three stood on a platform in Geneva, golden light streaming through glass panels. A train waited. Damien gently rested his hand on Mariana's shoulder. Leo held her other hand, postcard still clutched. For the first time in years, Mariana didn't feel like someone escaping. She felt like someone arriving. Stories like Mariana and Damien's remind us that sometimes a single voice can change everything. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of what really matters.